Welcome back to the final day of the week of slightly less big boys, the combining. And you are probably thinking, wait, you hate Menasor. You always complain that he's lame and boring and stupid looking, but you picked up a nearly $400 combiner of him? And all I have to say to that is, shiny thing good. It's Transformmission Havok / Menasor. So I'm kind of going to have to experience this figure for the first time with you all. I bought this thing before I even got the Defensor from the start of the week, but it basically immediately went into a closet. Because, you look at it. Do you want to touch this thing, covering it in greasy fingerprints and dust? No, this needed to be protected, so I almost never interact with this thing. And somehow, despite it being sealed in a closet for a whole year, it's still got dust on it. Because Satan is real and he exists only to ruin beautiful things. So anyways, another reason I was willing to pick this thing up is that this is based off the IDW interpretation of Menasor, who, if you ask me, should be the only version anyone tries anymore. Look at him. Even if he weren't beautiful, this thing would be so much cooler than the G1 version, it's insane. He is no longer a guy who's got some cars strapped to his clothing like big ugly knee pads and, sleeve covers. God, the original is just a man and there are cars hanging off of him. This is so much better integrated, and there is so much detail here. He's got the shoulder rockets, the wrist guns, the feet are complex, every surface is made out of some sick sculpting. Yeah, this is a parts former, and I don't care this time, both because, for once, it's sick as hell, and two, I have never and will never uncombine him, because I'm not going to risk the finish on this glorious thing. And also, how are you going to pull this off without it? All the other Menasors have a skeleton in a box that you hang cars on, and this is no different because Menasor is pretty much just an unworkable design. But oh, do I love this. This is once again a combiner with an extreme level of parts forming, and this is hands down the shittiest built thing I think I've ever seen. It's not breakable like some others, but oh my god, the joints and connections on this are a joke. I have never seen a figure that is more loose than this. Feet spin like they're meant to be on top of a helicopter, legs flail about like a Muppet in a rave, the backpack that holds the whole torso together will fall off if you blow on it, and putting that back on is an endeavor. Basically, if this whole video is primarily just a shot of my rotating logo, you know why now. Honestly, I'm predicting that this episode is just going to be long, uninterrupted shots of this set spinning away on my turntable, or wide shots of it propped against the back of my lightbox. Can't say for sure yet. Honestly, not being able to really handle this thing without it falling to pieces is seriously going to hamper my ability to even talk about this thing on any level. So, I think to keep you all entertained for more than just the 3 minutes it would take me to point at it and say, pretty colors, I'm going to pad this one out a bit with how I would fix Menasor. So if you don't want to hear some YouTube hack try to be a writer, then now's the time you should probably abandon this video. Okay, while one of my main problems with Menasor has been resolved by this, in that he doesn't look boring as hell now, my other issues with the character still remains, because they just have nothing interesting going on as a team. Get this, they're a bunch of Decepticons that don't get along. Wow, you've shattered the mold. I can't believe how much you've just obliterated my expectations. And that's just their bios. In the show they were even more toned down than that. For some reason, they are supposed to be the most badass Decepticon sub-team when the Combaticons exist, and yet they are still dull as dishwater, and I always want to call foul on them. And one day, I'm sitting there listening to Someday Never Comes by CCR, and it hits me. If I was in charge, if I was the person making this team, they'd be burnt out Vietnam vets. They'd be tired, they'd be bored, they'd hate the Decepticons, but they've committed, they can't go back now, they'd love Fortunate Son, and they're sick of fighting, but damn it, they're good at it when they set about doing it. Kinda hitting the whole team with that dead-end energy, but hey, he was probably the most interesting one, so might as well. I kind of just imagine them sitting around, blitzed out of their minds on robo-weed, pumping music when not in a fight, and probably still blasting tracks when they are. They don't need the elements of surprise, they need a soundtrack. And they'd work great together as a team. Cause, that would actually be different for the Decepticons, a group who works well as a team. Anyways, yes, this is gorgeous, and yes, it's built like crap. This is just a nightmare. The heels pretty much only pretend to be there. I can't get this flap down to save my life and lock the backs of the legs into their sockets. Without that, these tires won't flip around. I don't know if this is supposed to be up or down. It locks either way. Aforementioned backpack is crap. The way the arms attach is terrible. This is just being pinched by these two thin struts, and I'm either worried it will pop off and drop the forearm on the ground where it'll get scratched, or they could just break. And of course, the forearms are the only part of this figure with ratchets worth a damn, and these are worth 100 dams. These are pretty much some of the most uncomfortably strong ratchets I've ever seen. So let's put a lot of pressure on that really flimsy part. The rocket pods on his shoulders don't even lock in anywhere. They just sit there. I think they're supposed to peg in here, and I don't know why that's not happening, but it's not happening. And I don't have any clue where the mirrored piece that was supposed to go here went. Oh, and once again, we have another figure with a completely weird scale. This is yet again not as big as any of the figures I covered in the last week of Big Boys, but it is the biggest of the figures I've covered this year, being just about a head and a half taller than the upscaled Make Toys Defensor, which makes it almost 50% bigger than the normal one, meaning this is significantly larger than a Chug scale combiner, but it's also significantly smaller than the MMC Masterpiece scale combiners, or their even bigger parts forming counterparts from other companies. This is the size this was meant to be, and I have no idea what scale scale it's meant to be in. The other figures this week at least had an excuse, as one was just an oversized version of a Chug scale figure, and one was a Titan class figure shrunk down to Chug scale, so it was the same size as regular Combiner Wars combiners. So I have no idea where this is supposed to fit into anyone's collections. I will say that Transformmission may have not known how to engineer a figure, but they sure knew how to sculpt one. Does anyone know if they became someone else, or if someone else just pretended to be them for one release like Fans Toys did with their Acoustic Wave? Cause I have to believe that these guys were at least somebody at some point. I mean, just look at all the craft that went into every inch of this thing's sculpt. It looks so cool. And then you got the chrome job on it, and you know me, I'm not one for paint. But I love shiny, and this is so shiny. I honestly love crystal figures too, and every time I see one of those for sale, I almost buy it. But I know that it being made entirely out of clear plastic means at least something is going to break, and I know it won't satisfy the hole in my collection I need it to, but God, I want them so bad anyways. Honestly though, if every figure could be a chrome figure from now on, sign me the hell up. Head sculpt on this is yet again an improvement on the normal Menasor, making his horns not just some stupid weird anachronisms on his dome. Yeah, I know other characters have horns, but they usually aren't the most egregious things ever. Like the normal ones look like they were ripped right off an opera singer's Viking helmet. I think this was supposed to come with an alternate face. It didn't, but this still looks cool as hell. The helmet is more complex, and I think that really adds something. Whereas the normal one had dumb horns and was boring, this one has cool horns and a forehead diamond. Always appreciated. Plus vents on the side of his head, which I think does a lot for him. I absolutely love the eyes with their tear lines, or whatever they are. They just add spice. And they light up, which, hell yeah, a feature that finally works as intended. And it looks absolutely sick. Unfortunately, it doesn't come with batteries installed, and it doesn't say what kind of batteries it takes. I only finally got this lighting up while writing this script because I tried like 5 varieties of batteries before and they didn't work. But I had more now and I gave them a shot. Unfortunately, they were loose, so I'm not 100% positive what kind they were, but I think they were LR41s. Just in case you already had this and didn't know, because I could not find anywhere online where it told me what this was supposed to take. I watched like 40-minute reviews on this thing, yelling at my screen when I got to the eyes, "What batteries does it take, you overblown windbag? Make your video shorter!" But now I have the right ones, and this feature rules. Screw light piping. Give me chrome dyes or give me battery-powered ones. So yeah, the look of this guy just rocks. He looks so good, and while the build on him is just heartbreaking, I think he does look better than the Toy World Devastator, and at least he doesn't break every 2 seconds. The accessories this guy comes with are pretty cool. For starters, he comes with his gun, which much like the CW Devastator, breaks down into a bunch of smaller weapons for the other characters to use. Though this is a lot more complex, and with everything being chromed on it, I'm wary of taking it apart for fear of scratching off some of this beautiful material. I spent over $300 on a figure that I can't touch and never look at because of this chrome. And I could not regret it less. Sucks about the build though. And then he comes with his giant sword with a cool hinge built in so it can crush down into a smaller sword meant for the smaller figures. Remember what I said about the sword on Defensor being like hitting someone with an I-beam? Yeah, this is worse. This is like trying to cut someone in half with a tree stump. I kind of want to include the instruction booklets, that don't show you how to combine them, as accessories because they are plastered in some awesome art. I just want to hang these on my wall. And he also comes with this sick lenticular 3D full-scale poster of himself, so this whole set just wants to be a feast for the eyes. I don't know if any of the combiner parts do anything else, and I'm not going to find out. His accessories plenty suffice already. They kind of rule, honestly. Posability on this is unfortunately terrible. Like, even if the build were perfect, this would be awful. This is the first I've ever seen this. Head has maximum up. Why don't more figures do this? A little down and swivel. Shoulders pull like a 3. Not like a 3 out of 10, like a 3-degree bend. I have never seen shoulders 1/10 this bad. Core class Bumblebee Ravage has more range. This is pathetic. Parts forming combiners, people. They pose the best and are the most stable. Horse shit. Elbows only pull a 90, even though they look like they should be capable of more. Fully articulated hands, though no special wrist joints. Much like the arms, the legs basically can't kick forwards at all, like, again, 3 degrees. They kick back great, and out to the side they can pull like a 45. Normal 90 knees, and feet with rotation and pivot. This is dog shit on the posing. One of the worst articulated figures I've ever seen. Good thing the build on this is so shit it doesn't matter because you won't ever be posing it. So do I recommend this? Hell no. It looks sick as fuck. But if I weren't me, just salivating over the chrome, then there's nothing really here for someone. It is a terribly built, terribly posing, beautiful mess. Though, I suppose maybe if it weren't chrome, I wouldn't be so afraid to take it apart, and the individual figures could turn out to be a lot of fun on their own. But let's just say I'm skeptical of that. There is one other problem with this set, in that it is the only option if you want an IDW Menasor. If you don't go with this, then you are screwed. Also, I don't think you can find them anymore. Pretty sure the company probably went out of business after making this for, I think, obvious reasons. Look, it's beautiful and awful and I love it, but you shouldn't buy it. And that's not half what I have to say, but it's enough what I have to say. And I know, you know, what everyone else tells you to do at the end of these videos. So, if you liked what you saw here, please do that. And if you'd like to take it a step further, then please, share this video with any friend you think may be interested. I hope you all enjoyed listening to me waste your time.